Okay, so this is Travessa dos Angels, the Street of the Angels, and today we're going to be talking about is Macau a well-located place to travel? Is it a well-located place to travel from? And we're going to be talking about that, and just connecting to Macau as well, and we'll be talking all about it right after this. Let's go check out the room. Okay, I'm the content creator for this channel. If you like what I'm doing, just subscribe and hit the like button. Okay, so here we are in Macau in the Street of the Angels. Sometimes I film in this area because it's well lit at nighttime, and sun already went down, and it's the best place to film. So we're going to be talking about is Macau a good place to travel from? And right now it's in June 2020, and at the moment we have COVID, so everything is kind of hard to travel from. But in general, Macau is very well located because it's basically right next to Okay, so in general, Macau is a very well located place to travel from. Reason being because it's so close to Hong Kong. But that's not the only reason. I mean, Hong Kong is one, because Hong Kong is just such a massive city that's such a international connection, much like a New York or London. So Hong Kong already demands that kind of connection to everything else. So you can find, really basically very affordable flight tickets to go all over the world. So and Macau is right next to it. It's basically 30 minutes by bridge. So sometimes you're in certain cities, and just to get to the airport, like if you're in Japan, for example, maybe to get to the airport it might take 3-4 hours. But in Macau you can be over there within 30 minutes from the bridge. Of course you have to plan it out a little bit because you have to take a ferry or take a bridge, but nonetheless it's still the case. So the other reason that it's very well located is because of the location itself. Hong Kong and Macau is basically right in the middle of Pacific Asia. So if you think about that, you have stuff that's within a couple hours of here. That would be Philippines, Vietnam, lots of southern China. Shanghai, I think, is within 3 hours, I believe. But 2 hours away, it's Manila, Bangkok, Phnom Penh, Saigon, Hanoi, Chengdu, places like that. This is another little stretch of this road. It's kind of cool. It's a good place to film at nighttime. So then just a little bit further, you can get to Tokyo and Seoul. Maybe I think it's 3.5 to 4 hours to those two major cities. And then if you go to Southeast Asia, like further down, Malaysia is about 3.5 hours. So just within 2 to 3 hours, there's a very wide variety of different countries they can go to, have completely different experiences. Then a little bit further, you can get to places like Bali. You can even get to, well, if you go the other way towards the Middle East and Africa, you can be in, but you have to go to Hong Kong to get there, but you could be in Addis Ababa. It takes 7.5 hours. Europe is maybe, I think you can get to Munich for, I think, 8.5 hours, I think. I mean, granted that gets a little bit further away, but the fact that you can get on these things and get on a one-way flight without having to connect anywhere is amazing. So yeah, actually it's very well located for travel. So if someone is to live in this area, you have a very wide range of very interesting places to go to, basically all over Pacific Asia. And then there's connections to like Air Asia. There's all these budget airlines everywhere in Asia that can take you to Malaysia, Thailand, India, all over the place. They kind of go in all different directions. So there's some of them that go to a lot of different cities in China, other ones that just go to Korea, Japan. There's this little one called Hong Kong Express that can take you to places like Saipan and Ishigaki, Okinawa, Japan, and those are only a few hours away. Well, I think Guam or Saipan, I think, is maybe 4-5 hours, and Ishigaki, Japan, I think, is maybe 2.5 hours, something like that. It's just a little island in Okinawa, way in the southern part. But basically, you have access to stuff like this. So, so it's pretty amazing how well located it is, and I'm going to just contrast that to having lived in other places. So, I also lived in Japan and Korea for a long time. And just to get out of Japan and Korea, it would take me, I mean, generally I wouldn't fly to Hong Kong because it's kind of another big city like a Tokyo or Seoul. So usually from those two locations, China always had visa issues, so you know, if I was in Seoul, I was looking at like a 6-hour flight just to get out. You know, usually people would try to fly to Southeast Asia and then have all their options and then start traveling around. Japan was more or less the same. Sometimes you could go back and forth between Japan and Korea, so that was your quick access to somewhere. This is called News 21. We have a lot of cheaper clothing here. MLB. But in general, the prices, the distances here are so much well located than other places. I also am from the States originally. This is going to be, people from Europe probably can relate quickly to the Macau situation, but from the United States, it's very hard to get out of it. So, for example, I grew up in near Detroit. So, you know, to get on an international flight from Detroit, it's probably going to cost you a lot of money, and it's going to take a lot of time. So, you know, it might be 6-7 hours to Europe, but you know, imagine all the places you could get to from here. Or, you know, if you're in Detroit, I guess Canada's the only one that's close. Otherwise, everything is, you know, other places in the United States, really. So okay. So basically, I'm gonna say, yeah, it seems like there's more tourists here today. I don't know how that happened. It seems like there's a few more foreigners. I seem not sure of the situation today. Anyways, yeah, they look like kind of like tourists too. Huh. These are usually Filipinos here. So, okay. Huh. Actually, I think the people on the steps are maybe from the mainland or they're locals. I can barely hear the language. I was trying to listen to the language, but I can't quite catch it. So anyways, it's very well located for travel. So yeah, that's basically, actually also is like when you're from Detroit, like I grew up from, you know, you're just never going to travel overseas. The pay is a lot lower for most jobs. You're usually making minimum wage. So it's a little bit more difficult to get out of places like that. Whereas here, you can pretty much make any kind of wage. Well, I mean, even if you had like a lower wage, you could still get on a budget airline. So you'll meet people who are, whose wages aren't very high, but they can fly down to Thailand. The cost of living is going to be, your spending is going to be a lot lower, stuff like that. So anyways, you know, if you're in Detroit, you know, what are you gonna do? Fly to Europe and pay, you know, double the price for meals, and so it's quite a bit different of an experience. Okay, so anyways, we're gonna be ending this video in a minute, and this is Sentinel Square. So and it looks like a little bit more livelier today. And anyways, we'll save that for another video.
Toma cuidado la